Hello everyone. In this video we'll be talking about how this NCP tool helps us with the prescription and also a built-in calculator called the ONS calculator in this tool that helps us to speed up calculation for ONS or EN product. Okay, so in this Google Sheet there is actually a tab just right behind the X called PRES, prescription. A prescription is usually a process that's tied into intervention, but here we separated it out for a specific purpose. There are three major sections in this tab. One is the prescription part. Two is the guideline part that stretches in these two columns. And then the third part is the ONS calculator, which is titled EN over here. Let's start with the first. This first part, the one highlighted in blue, is actually an unfinished design. It is meant for us to key in all of the prescription that we give to the patient for every single nutrients that's available in the RNI. So to your right, you would see that here RNI is prescribed at 2486 kcal with 62 gram of protein. This is actually coming from RNI 2017 according to the age as well as the gender of the person. The data is actually extracted from this RNI tab, in which is the entire RNI 2017 summary table. Now let's go back to this prescription tab and have a look at this prescription unit part. This is still in development. It's meant for us to key in our own prescription and later on compare with the diet that the person is actually having. It's built on the concept that this prescribed 1800 kcal is supposed to have a lot more than that. Supposed to be an entire row of nutrients. So that's the purpose that the prescription section in this PRES tab is supposed to serve. For us to prescribe nutrients for every single, for us to prescribe the appropriate amount of nutrients for every single nutrient that's available or any that's relevant that we want to put in. But it's an unfinished design. The best thing that I can do is just to display the RNI requirement according to the gender and the age of the person. The second part is the guideline part under this tool section. What it allows us to do is to choose any of an organ or any of the topic relevant, let's say GI, and we are handling a case of MNT for GI disorder. And you will see if I copy all of this here, I don't have to, I can just open this up and then it would show the domain and medical diagnosis. This is an unfinished, for MNT for GI disorder is unfinished, so let's choose something that is more complete, such as this one. The source is MNT HPT. Note here the domain is in heart for the medical diagnosis of hypertension, year 2005. Name of the diet for recommended by MNT HPT 2005 to treat hypertension is DASH diet. The fiber in DASH diet is as below. Then the carbohydrate, subcarbohydrate, protein, subprotein. It is basically a digital copy of the MNT HPT condensed into a Google spreadsheet format. And all this data are actually extracted from this tab right here called Guideline, underlined in red highlight over here. These are all of the sources available for your guideline. I designed this with a concept in mind to create a digital logbook. We used to carry a physical logbook, and sometimes that book can stretch to be very thick. So I tried to design a digital logbook that supposedly will solve that problem of it being thick and only accessible in the book. But it was quite difficult to put in all of the data into the guideline, into this guideline tab, and it is even more difficult to actually view it in the prescription tab. what I will usually do is just to copy this and then put it into my WhatsApp to see. I guess that would have defeated the purpose of it being a digital logbook. But that's the original concept of it. If you can build on that concept in say an app platform, then that might be something worth exploring. Next is potentially the one thing that works in this tab is the ONS calculator. Okay, let's try this ONS calculator out. All these highlighted in green are the only thing that you have to key in, and this highlighted in red is also the thing that you have to key in, and everything else will be calculated for you. Let's say we found out that the patient needs 900 kcal from ONS, and he needs 25 gram of protein from ONS, and we want a fluid balance, means kilocal divided by ml of fluid, to be 1. Okay, now we choose the product. Using the tab, let's say we would like a disease-specific product because the patient is suffering from diabetes. So for diabetes, we have these options. For renal, we have these options. At least that's what's available in this current Google spreadsheet. This ONS product will be updated yearly, so that's one thing that we'll have to check out. Nutrient diabetic, 36.14 and 1.61 gram of protein per scoop. Now, we also have to put in the number of feed the patient will actually have in a day. So let's say if the patient is having 6, that's what we want to give them, 6. So to meet the kilocal of 900 kilocal a day in 6 feed, every 1 feed must have 4.2 scoop of nutrient diabetic and 2.5 scoop of nutrient diabetic if you want to hit the protein. So let's try 4 scoop in order for us to hit the kilocal. And let's say in this case, this patient is a tube feeding patient, and we need to flush something. We need to use 20 ml to flush the tube. Okay, so after this, this part will actually display the kilocal per feed if we are using, the requirement for kilocal per feed. The patient requires 150 kilocal per feed, 4.2 gram protein per feed, and fluid per feed, fluid requirement per feed. Now these are the output. This is what the patient will achieve if you give them 4 scoop and 20 ml pre and 20 ml post fluid for flushing. They will achieve 867 kilocal, 38.6 gram of protein, 1100 fluid ml, and then a kilocal fluid of 0.8. The fluid allowed is 2,900 and the fluid balance is 1,792. The patient can still consume 1,792. There are cases when patient will be put on fluid restriction. That's when we'll have to watch out for. We'll have to tweak the fluid here in the in the section where we write out our formula, in order to make sure that the patient will actually fit the fluid requirement. So here is a script, an unfinished design script. For 1 scoop, the patient will need at least 36 cc of water. So the nurse will usually only put 50 if it's 36. So you can just put 50 if it's the nurse that are actually banchoing it. They are actually mixing the formula. If they are caretaker that can follow instruction as specific as say 46 cc, then maybe that's one thing that we can explore. And then the actual fluid that the patient will consume have to be calculated after you tweak this amount here. This cannot actually be trusted. This is only saying that this is the minimum amount of fluid needed to achieve the requirement that you put here. Now if you choose some other product, say a glucosamine, again the kilocal and the protein per scoop will change. The recommended will also change. Then you can change the recommended to 30. Again, the flushing is kept at 20. Then the energy will also change. Ignore some of the things that are outside and not put inside a table. These are just ideas that I wanted to work with, but I didn't actually manage to work out. Next is this table over here. You can ignore the nutrient info all the way to the right. This is just for the to display all of the data for the product that you are currently choosing. This table would not only display the energy as well as the protein, but also display the carbohydrate for each scoop and each serving for the patient. This serving would be according to number of scoop per serving. This is what it actually uses to calculate how much per serving. So it has also sodium, potassium, and phosphate. In my experience, I haven't used this often, but sometimes it might be important to use this in your clinical practice, especially for patients with, say, potassium, sodium, or phosphate restriction. Okay, so that's all for this PRES tab. 3 sections: prescription, guideline, and ONS calculator. The first 2 sections are still concept in development. It doesn't serve the purpose that I have envisioned it for, but the ONS calculator has proved time and time again to be very useful for myself. So this is the one thing that I can use, but there is another concept that I didn't work with for this ONS calculator. There are instances where we have to add on modular product on top of the main product that we are giving. For instance, if we are working with nutrient diabetic and there is a huge gap in between calorie and protein needed for each feed, so what we can do is actually cut down the number of scoop in a feed and add on modular product, say myotin, to cover the protein and cover the calorie needed. So if I put in only 2 scoop to meet the protein and so as to not waste the nutrient diabetic, what I will do is usually add on some options that cover for the caloric deficit. For infant, maybe I can use Carberry if Carberry is available. For adults or other products that are pure carbohydrate and calorie are available, then I will add that on. But I didn't actually make a calculator that can accommodate 2 products at the same time. So that's one thing that you have to work on yourself, and that's one concept that you can explore. To summarize, this calculator can only calculate 1 product at a time. It cannot accommodate EN regime with a main product and a modular product along with it. That's all for this video. I hope you find it helpful. I'll see you in the next one.